Hey there, I'm Anthony Romano, and I'm going to explain to you in this video some of the best mental tips for doing fat loss dieting. Okay, this really can apply to anything, any sort of challenging thing you're doing, but at the same time, this is very applicable to dieting, and I'm going to explain how to use these tactics because they involve changing your approach and your outlook on certain things, okay? Trust me, these are some of the most powerful tools I've ever used, and it's changed my life completely from incorporating these into dieting, and a lot of the people I've worked with have also benefited from these tactics because I coach people and I've been doing ketogenic dieting for a long time, intermittent fasting, lots of other dieting. So let's get into it. So, for starters, this works for any diet, okay? This is not simply keto or fasting-oriented approaches, but the first, context you should know is that doing those sort of approaches will make dieting easier for you, okay? The number one willpower tip for fat loss dieting is do something that controls your blood sugar, okay? So, notably, keto, and a secondary tip would be fasting, incorporating some sort of intermittent fasting approach. There's entire books, entire bodies of scientific literature on that topic, because essentially, scientists have narrowed down that your willpower equals your blood sugar on a moment-to-moment basis, okay? So that's the first tip. That's an actual physiological tip. It's not simply a mindset trick or anything like that, okay? It's nothing pseudo-scientific. That's a scientific, piece of information for you to deal with there. Now, let's get into these actual mental tips, okay? This is a very powerful mental tip that hopefully you can pick up, okay? Because some people will have an aversion to this. But the tip is the abundance mindset, okay? So what the hell does this mean? This video is going to come off very woo-woo type of advice, but I'm telling you, if you've done an effective diet, this will become real for you. And remember this video because it will be something that you resonate with if you actually commit to a successful diet. The one I recommend is ketogenic diet, okay? Especially because on keto, because of that blood sugar stabilization, you have an extra crutch to physiologically help you with, not succumbing to challenges of willpower, okay? So, abundance mindset, okay? This means you are more focused on what you do have than what you don't, okay? So essentially, a lot of times, the perfect example I like to use for this analogy is the whole, morning breakfast meeting example, okay? And I thought of this because I've been writing my keto starter guide, and one of the last chapters in that book is on the mental approaches you should take on a fat loss diet. And with that morning breakfast meeting where somebody brings in sandwiches or somebody brings in donuts or some sort of food that you're not able to eat, okay? Now granted, for a lot of the calorie flexible dieters here, if you are somebody who's averse to keto, you have to understand keto is restrictive in terms of the foods you are not able to eat, but there are ways to incorporate them for beneficial purposes, okay? So anybody who's new to keto, you absolutely have to do the first month very strict, but after that, there's ways to make the carbs work for you better than they would if you hadn't have done keto in the first place. So it's very interesting. But let's get back to the breakfast meeting analogy, okay? Because I've had this example plenty of times, even in school, doesn't matter where you are. Somebody brings in donuts and they're free for whatever purpose, and you are just, you're automatically, your brain is attuned to the scarcity you have. It's attuned to free donut. I don't have to pay $1 or $2 for a donut. That's what your brain is geared towards. And when your brain does that, your brain is focused more on what you don't have than what you do. Because what your brain in the abundance mindset will do is realize that you can always get another donut. You can always have another one. This is a very powerful approach to life because although, it's not like there's endless supplies of donuts that are just given to you all day long, right? Especially if, depending on where you live in the world, there's people in the world who don't have that luxury. But for the most part, people in the developed world, there's an abundance of donuts out there, okay? This example works great with donuts because there's near endless amounts of donuts that are being produced at all times, and it's simply a matter of, going out and dishing out $1 for one of them, okay? So here's the thing. A lot of our minds are geared towards, I can take advantage of this, right? We're all taught to, eat whatever's on your plate, don't waste anything, and those are very important, practices to have, especially to grow up as a lesson with. But the main thing here is this. You have to realize you can always get another one. You can always get another donut. You can always get another pizza slice. You can always get whatever it is somebody brings in to the office or to the breakfast meeting or to school. Okay, so that's one thing, because your mind needs to be geared towards the resourcefulness you have rather than the resources. So rather than focusing on, oh, there's a donut, I should take advantage of this, right? I don't have donuts at home right now, so I should take advantage of this. Your brain should be geared towards your resourcefulness, the fact that I can get a donut anytime I want. Okay, it's literally that true. And here's the thing, if you don't have the capability to deny a donut to you when it's free, chances are you're never going to be able to deny a donut when you're in the grocery store, when you actually have to pay for it. If you are able to deny it when it's free, it's even easier to deny it when you have to pay for it, because you have that extra level of investment you need to put into this. Okay, now here's my favorite part of this, okay? This is my absolute favorite part of this abundance mindset. So listen carefully here, okay? When you adopt this abundance mindset, it removes mental opposition from yourself, okay? So normally, when people go into these fat loss diets, they're basically challenging themselves and they're fighting craving, okay? So in order to fight something, there has to be an oppositional force of some sort, okay? So typically people will be like, don't have the donut, don't have the donut, don't have the donut. Like that sort of, that's basically the thought process you have, right? So when you're in that state, you're automatically fighting against yourself mentally. And anytime you fight against yourself, even if you don't have the donut, a part of you will win, right? If you don't have the donut, but a part of you will lose, and your brain will not let go of this. Your brain will subconsciously it will suppress the part of you that lost, and it will later resurface as an urge for indulging in those donuts, right? You're basically cramming down a part of you that wants the donut, that wants the sugar. So of course, that physiological benefit of doing ketogenic dieting or lots of fasting, right? But keto is going to be a lot easier and funner, so I encourage you to watch my other videos on it. But when you suppress that part of you down that wants to have the indulgence, right, what's going to happen is it will later resurface with a vengeance. And it all comes down to mentally separating yourself into two pieces and making them fight against each other. When you adopt this abundance mindset, you're removing the oppositional force altogether, because you are more focused on working together with yourself rather than working against yourself. So, of course, it might seem very pseudo scientific to say, oh yeah, well, mentally, you're making two of yourself and you're fighting against yourself. It doesn't seem like there's any tangible problems with doing that, but there are, because you're not thinking aligned. You're not thinking in full alignment to your goals. You're actually separating a part of your mental efforts and making them face your goals oppositionally. You understand? You're pitting them against yourself. And that's the main reason why you need, sorry, I was reading my book to, make sure I hit all the key points here. The main thing is, if you defeat yourself, a part of you still loses, okay? So that's the big point here. And you want to come from this abundant state, not only because you'll have a better time and you'll be less worried about things, right? And, essentially you will focus on the fact that you can always get another donut, or you can always get another pizza slice, or you can always get another one, right? That's essentially the spirit of optimism, okay? But here's the thing. When you remove that force, you become much more relaxed and everything is less neurotic. All your goal-seeking behavior is less neurotic, because that's literally the behavior of anxiety, right? You're continuously being like, don't have the donut, oh shit, I want the donut. That's the mental thought process of anxiety. And funny enough, if I wanted to tie this to a psychological process, there's even, what's the Jordan Peterson analysis with lobsters, right? Literally, the effect, there's plenty of work I've read from scientists on serotonin, okay? We have a pretty good idea of serotonin and dopamine. And there's this great example from Jordan Peterson, who also uses ketogenic dieting in a very carnivorous form, by the way. But essentially, what this example is the more successful a lobster is in certain events or fighting other lobsters, it will get a shot of serotonin, right? And serotonin allows them to feel relaxed. And the way we understand serotonin in scientific, other scenarios is the more serotonin an animal has, the more relaxed it is, because it tends to be higher up and have more resources, have more abundance. It is more in tune with its abundance because it actually has abundant resources. With humans, we have evolved to a point where we have created a lot of abundance for most people, right? In the world of lobsters, if they fight and they lose a battle against another lobster, shit is real for the lobster. If the lobster loses, rightfully so, their serotonin drops, because they're lower in the social hierarchy and they're probably not going to get any resources or be useful. So in humans, if you don't do well at something, if you fail a test or something, You can always try again. You can always do another test, right? Or you can always put more time into a certain activity you're doing, okay? So when you apply that to donuts, lobsters haven't evolved to the point where they have endless donuts. Humans have, okay? Even though not everybody has full abundance, okay? You have a lot more abundance than most other species on this planet. So the point is, serotonin is basically the behavior of abundance. And we know this from scientific studies. And essentially, once you start training yourself to be focused on this abundance, you're going to train yourself to have more serotonin. You're going to be acting as a person with more serotonin. And there's actually a part of your brain, is it with the amygdala? I can't remember exactly what part. But essentially, there's parts in your brain, there's circuits in your brain that basically make you, essentially, if your brain thinks you're low in a scarcity or a famine or a perverse area of the world, it will make you more neurotic, because neuroticism and this sort of scarcity mindset, the opposite of abundance mindset, is a survival tactic, because our bodies are focused on surviving rather than thriving. And that's the primary goal for your body. So the thing is, when you are in this scarcity mindset, it's a survival technique used by our species, because when you are low on resources, when you don't have access to donuts endlessly, or you don't have the ability to buy food to sustain yourself from some sort of diet, okay, then you need to make sure you take advantage of every donut that's given to you. But the main point here is, essentially, these behaviors are wired into you on a mental level because they were very important at a time where we didn't have as much abundance. But the main point here is you have to sort of assume this abundance. You have to focus on the bright side in a certain way and realize, hey, I have the ability to buy a donut if I want a donut. I have the ability to say no, okay? I don't need to have this donut. That is the scarcity mindset. I need to have this donut. I better take advantage of this donut. And that, again, is the mindset of a creature that believes it's low in social status, it has low access to resources, and it's more focused on what it doesn't have, because that's a survival technique to make sure that you eat every donut that's given to you, because you might not make it tomorrow if you don't have that donut. You understand? So it's an outdated piece of logic that is ingrained in our species because it kept us alive over the years. The people that didn't take advantage of the donut would have died. Nowadays, you don't have to do that, okay? We have the luxury of denying the junk food that's given to you, and with junk food's case, you could argue that you're in better health if you do deny the donut, okay? That's a pretty I didn't even take it to that place, okay? So essentially, that is the main purpose of this video, okay? And the thing is, too, especially with keto approaches, you can incorporate those carbs at a better time. You can choose. You can be the decider of when you have donuts. You can be proactive, and basically, being proactive here is what's going to make all the difference, okay? Instead of being reactive to, any donut or pizza slice that's offered to you, you are proactively denying the ones and deciding, hey, I'm going to have this when it's appropriate to my goals, okay? So a lot of times it's about removing that mental opposition, okay, assuming that abundance mindset, and going from there, okay? There's other implications for, how neurotic of a person you may be, how anxiety prone you may be, and other, implications as to how it can benefit you by adopting that mindset. But it's something you should adopt in a lot of areas of life, because with a lot of things, you can always get another one. If you break your car, sure, it may be a big financial expense, but you can always get another one if you put in more time, or if you try to use your time better, or a lot of things like that, right? Of course, there's obviously big problems and tragedies people can have, but you get where I'm going with this, okay? It's simply a mental tool for you to use, and it's something that should be the bedrock of any fat loss diet you do. The main point there was that this style of thinking orients your mind towards looking for solutions rather than letting it fixate on the problems you have.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see the screen. You were driving so fast.
Okay, first of all, Richard, don't answer me by telling me a problem. I have enough of those already. Bring me a solution, and then we can make a decision together.
Okay? So, focus on abundance. Don't focus on scarcity. Incorporate this, and also use a diet that helps you on a physiological level like keto. But, again, you can do whatever you want to do, okay? That is it for this video. I'm Anthony Romano. Make sure you go to my website, romanoketo.com, if you want to work together. And also check out my keto starter guide whenever it's out, because part of this is in a much more precise written form in Keto Pro Start, my starter guide. And of course, you can also go there for free guides. You can go there for, other programs I'm releasing, okay, things of that nature. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video right now. And also follow my Instagram after you do those things, okay? That is it. Thank you again for watching. Peace.